are not productive. Our government has hired a bureaucracy of people that inflates, or it seems to look like our unemployment is lower, but it's really government jobs. And then on top of it, we've cut back the immigration numbers dramatically, which then affects things like rents are dropping. Now we've got buyers that aren't buying, and then people listing can't sell their house.
It's funny when the market creates chaos the way it has in the last little bit, how much opportunity it truly creates. And even though, it is a mind shift for people, this is when the deals are. This is when the opportunities are. I don't want to hear anyone bitching and complaining and moaning when the price of real estate goes back up and values come way back up, and people start saying, I can't find cash flow.
I can't find a good deal.
I can't find anything that pencils. I don't want to hear any of this shit from anybody, because this was the moment, this was the opportunity, and we told them. So it's up to them to jump on it. Is it easy? No, but this is the time. I want to talk about delinquencies because we're starting to see some, like, these mortgage arrears have jumped up. We're starting to see insolvencies goes up. We knew this would happen in 2025, Patrick, because a lot of mortgages were set to renew in 2025 and 2026. We knew that would kind of be the crux of it, late 2024 into 2025. Is that why this is happening now, or is it just working its way through the system?
Well, there's a number of things. There is certainly a slowdown in the economy, and this is where, if you really unpack the numbers, we're actually seeing unemployment increase, although the numbers show that, we got all these new jobs. But you have to lift the hood on those numbers to realize what makes those numbers up. So as much as it looks like unemployment has actually dropped a little, when you look at hours worked, and I don't have a chart for it, but when you look at the number of hours worked, it's less. So the point of all of this is that when we look at what's happening economically, so aside from the housing market, we have to look at what's unfolding economically, and unemployment is rising. And when we look at a housing market that is basically shutting down and has shut down dramatically, we see construction jobs that are really starting to escalate in terms of the unemployment in a specific industry. We're seeing consumers are buying less. We've talked about this ad nauseum in terms of productivity of Canada. We are not productive. Our government has hired a bureaucracy of people that inflates, or it seems to look like our unemployment is lower, but it's really government jobs. So we think we live in a democracy. The reality of it is we live in a bureaucracy. And then on top of it, we've cut back the immigration numbers dramatically. So we're not floating the Canadian economic boat on the immigration, which we did for the past 5 years when they opened up the gates and people coming in and consuming and buying real estate and all the things that new immigrants into the country do. So all of that is really, for all intent and purpose, shut down dramatically, which then affects things like rents are dropping, housing is now, we've got buyers that aren't buying, and then people listing can't sell their house. So, and by the way, just as a side note in all this confusing conversation, is the reality that we're seeing listings spike, but buyers are not coming out to buy. So it's a whole different challenge that we face.
Yeah, the deals out there are incredible, Patrick. We've done a couple deals in the last couple weeks, and wow, like really great deals. Tons of flexibility. I can't remember a time when we were so flexible. I actually wrote a condition in an offer yesterday that I have never written before, and it was like, and it's just like, yeah, no problem. We got time. Yeah, let's work together. Let's figure this out. And I'm just like, wow, gone are the days 2 years ago when you were written offers, blind. You had no idea what was going on. It's, it's just a totally different market right now. And for those that are acquiring, definitely some great opportunities out there. But most are not, as you said, Patrick. Most are sitting on their hands. They're sitting on their wallet, and it is not great out there.
Well, fear keeps people on the sidelines for sure, and you can't even be critical of it. But when you look at this, this particular headline, mortgage payments and people going into arrears, interesting, isn't it, that individuals are going into arrears, yet mortgage rates have been quite high for some time. They're actually coming down. So what is all of this whole, why are insolvencies going up? Why are people, claiming bankruptcy, and why is that starting to trend upwards? And the ultimate reason for that is because people aren't working like our numbers would indicate they are. Unemployment is in fact going up. And as soon as you see that unemployment rise, you're going to in fact see these insolvencies and bankruptcies start to increase. And that's really what's going on in behind the scenes. And again, there's no good news in any of what's happening right now. And then on top of it, we've got the tariff threat, we've got the lack of government, and who's leading this country, we don't know. Trudeau quit, but he didn't quit. They don't have a new liberal leader. Are we going to a election or are we not going to election? All of this keeps people really frightened and sitting on the sidelines, and they're just wait and see. Now, you can't even be critical of it, but for us, because of our experience and because of what we see opportunities and continue to see opportunities in real estate, but it is heavy lifting, no question about it.
Well, this is where the reps come in. This is the work. You're not going to get in shape without doing the reps. And this is the time to be doing your reps. That's the reality of this market. I was talking to another investor, a friend of ours, Patrick Dominic, who I believe is speaking at the RAIN member meeting tonight, which I know he's got a great talk lined up. But Dominic and I were talking, and it's just like, he is just crazy busy right now. And he was like, we were talking about how it's funny when the market creates chaos the way it has in the last little bit, how much opportunity it truly creates. And even though, it is a mind shift for people, this is when the deals are. This is when the opportunities are. And I agree. You said something a while ago, Patrick, that I thought was interesting. You said we can't blame people. And I agree, we can't blame people. But what I don't want to hear, and I'm saying it here so it's on record, is I don't want to hear anyone bitching and complaining and moaning when the price of real estate goes back up and values come way back up, and people start saying, I can't find cash flow, I can't find a good deal, I can't find anything that pencils. I don't want to hear any of this shit from anybody, because this was the moment, this was the opportunity, and we told them. So it's up to them to jump on it. Is it easy? No, but this is the time.
Well, yeah, and you make a really good point. Of course, it just goes back to what we've shared many times, is how much emotion drives people's buying patterns. So when, we're in a boom cycle, everybody on paper is getting rich, everybody is lining up to buy deals and drive the price up. Yet when it's a down market like we're feeling right now, this is when the market should be really, I guess, busy, yet you see the odd individual like a Dominic, as we use, but it's not a crowded space. So there's lots of time to look for deals. There's lots of time to find deals. There's lots of negotiation room. And yet there's not a lot of players in the game right now because it seems so scary. That's an emotion driven scenario that we find ourselves in, and a lot of the investors are going to lose out in the opportunity because they're not willing to grind it out to look for those deals, to get the financing. And there is a price that they will pay on the other side of that, which is they're not going to see their net worth increase. They're not going to see the maintaining value of their dollars. And that'll start to show its head in 3 to 5 years. You have to look into the future in real estate, of course. But I want to share a couple of things, is that, there's some interesting headwinds that, for example, what's happening in British Columbia and Ontario. Now, Ontario is definitely, in the tank, and these tariffs are going to kick the shit out of Ontario if they go through the way they're being presented. I think there's a lot of drama around the tariffs, and I'm not saying, I don't want to discount it, but there's just so much drama around it. And really, Trump's a pretty good negotiator. I think he's talking 25% this, 100% that. Then he said, what we're going to do is we're going to match the tariffs of all of the countries that put tariffs on goods into the U.S. So he says, we're just going to match those tariffs. Well, I don't know if you saw the report, but there's a number of items that Canada has put tariffs on into the U.S. And some of them are like 150, 300%, like big numbers. So again, Trump's just being a negotiator ultimately, but it's a lot of drama and a lot of distraction called the tariffs. And that's also some of the things that are freaking people out. What's going to happen in Ontario is that that economy is going to really get hurt. Having said that, that'll ripple out across the country. But here's what's happening in BC in housing, just to give you an example. So in British Columbia, JG, in new builds now, you cannot put natural gas. You have to be hydro. So this is a broad statement, and I'm not going to get into the mush. No, true. True. Okay.
No.
Yes. So you do a development in
Is
BC.
this your NDP government at work right there? Is that
Yeah,
what this is?
this is I think this is EB at work. Okay, so listen to this. This is like ludicrous. So you put it, let's say you're going to build a fourplex. You're going to build a fourplex in Vancouver. You cannot put that building on natural gas. It has to be hydro. Now, on top of that, so for example, you're going to put, I don't know, you're going to put a 600 amp service into that fourplex, just round numbers, maybe it's a 500 amp, whatever it is. You have to put a pad mounted transformer in the yard. And by the way, JG, you have to give that a 12 by 12 space because, of course, and then put the bars around it so people don't run into it, all the stories that go with that. Now, what's interesting about that, so this is so ridiculous. So you have to bring in hydro. Guess where they get the hydro from? The US.
States, most likely. Of course.
From the US. Right into this whole tariff drama that we got going on, number one. Number two is guess where and guess how the US generates that power? Coal. So we're buying dirty electricity from the US because we don't have the power grid to drive it. And, so we're plugging our, of course, in BC, you're hug a tree. So you're plugging in your EV because you're going to be
powered by coal. It's a coal powered EV.
It's a coal powered EV. I mean, how ridiculous does it get? So those are the kinds of things that are going on in British Columbia. And, we all know what they did in terms of short-term rentals. I mean, Airbnb, like it's just become like, how do we...
Listen, Patrick, it was until Trump got in, the height of stupidity on the south of the border, right? Or earlier, I was going to say earlier this year, but late last year, if you will, middle of last year, the stupidity was at its height back then. And that's where we are right now. We're about to go through a change of government. But let me tell you, they're going to cram all kinds of stupid shit through that they can right up until the moment because they know they won't be able to do that into the future. That's what I think anyways.
Well, I think it's going to, I think that pattern's going to play out and we're going to see it and then it's going to be a big change. But ultimately, we have to try and remain optimistic about what's going on in Canada politically and some of the decisions that they're going to make. So if you like these episodes and you want to learn more about what's going on with real estate in Canada, investing in real estate and understanding how to invest in real estate the right way, head on down to the descriptions below, follow those links.